Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of DC Outdoors. On this video, I want to kind of take you through a quick look at the gear that I take out ice fishing. In our first video, we went out ice fishing to Wildman Lake. I just want to show you a little bit about what you need to get started. One of the most important pieces of gear that I've purchased for a lot of my outdoor adventures is the jet sled, the calving sled. I use this as an essential piece of gear because I don't drive out on the lake, so I like to take along the jet sled so I can pack my gear, but I also like to use this piece of equipment when I am out hunting. I often will put my gear at my blind, my chair, and I can use this as something I can drag out with me out in the woods, as I tend to hunt a lot on foot. But again, this really good piece of gear. I think I purchased this one for maybe 50 bucks or so on Cabela's, but it's definitely something that you'll get a few years out of. You can even take the kids out tobogganing on it, so it's a pretty durable piece of equipment. The next piece of equipment, obviously, that you're going to need is an auger. So this auger was a Canadian Tire special. I think it probably cost me maybe $70 when I purchased it. It's a Normark made by Mora, so probably made by the folks who make Mora knives and so forth, but really good piece of gear. This is an 8-inch hand auger. You know, you got to keep the blades sharp, so definitely it's something you want to make sure that you're sharpening up, keeping really good care of, keeping the cap on the auger and so forth, so that way you're keeping it sharp. But again, under $70, you can probably get this, or if you shop around on Kijiji or Facebook buy sell, you could probably pick one up used from somebody who's upgrading to a gas model. But I mean, ultimately, that's kind of the two essential main pieces of equipment I think that you need to get started. Although there are a few convenience items as well. Definitely the ice fishing tent is a piece of equipment that I picked up a few years ago. Packs up in a nice backpack carry bag. The tent just makes your daily adventures a lot easier, especially with the kids. You can see right down the holes. Makes it a lot of fun to really see those fish swimming around and striking the lure when you're out there in the water. Keeps the wind off of you. And just being that it's black, it absorbs a ton of heat from the sun, and honestly can keep you warm on a pretty cool day, even without a heater. You know, a few other pieces of gear that I like to bring. I don't use this all the time, but the Mr. Buddy heater, again, I think I picked this one up for under $50. Really good, convenient piece of gear. I'll use it hunting sometimes in the blind in the colder end of November. I tend not to use this a whole lot out in the ice fishing tent, but helpful to take the chill off on a colder day. Just connects to these little 1-pound bottles, so I usually pack a couple of these guys along because I love bringing out the Coleman cap stove. So, I mean, this is, again, a heavier piece of equipment. It's probably something I wouldn't take out if I was by myself, but certainly bringing the kids along, it's nice to heat up a lunch. We tend to cook some hot dogs out on a frying pan, so I'll bring an old frying pan along with me just to cook up some dogs. Other fishing equipment, I mean, again, you can get into it pretty cheap, or you can spend some cash. You know, you get a few of these little rods. Again, they make fishing a little bit easier, especially for the kids. You can also get into it pretty inexpensive with just some painter sticks that are kind of have your line wrapped around it. This one's a little bit harder for the kids to be able to reel in, because you're ultimately kind of just winding the fishing line around the stick. So I tend not to use these as much anymore, but I'll keep a couple around with me on a spare. But I make sure I purchased a few of these guys, again, over the years. You know, it makes it a lot easier for the kids to use, and the reeling mechanism is something that they're a lot more familiar with. I bring along my tackle box. I think you guys have seen that in the shot I did. You know, I tend not to use a whole lot from the tackle box, especially when we're out walleye fishing or something of that sort. Really just using a few jig heads. A couple other pieces of gear that you might want to have is just a glove for handling fish. So I like to use this. It's not waterproof, unfortunately, so if you stick it in the hole, it's going to get wet. But again, it's grippy, which is good for handling the fish. Kind of keep your hands warm, keep your fingers off the fish. I have the scoop, so you'll definitely want to get one of the ice scoops to actually drill your hole. You'll find little snow bits will fall into it, so this is helpful to scoop out, again, especially if you're in the tent, because you want to be able to see down the hole. You don't want little pieces of snow and ice kind of obstructing your view, making you think you're seeing fish when you're not. So this is, again, a pretty essential piece of gear, especially if you're in the tent. And then I also have a pair of needle nose pliers and a tape measure. Again, old pair of needle nose pliers I've had for years, and it's sitting in a toolbox that I kind of added to my fishing kit. And again, a tape measure. You can purchase fishing ones with built-in scales. Many lakes have size restrictions if you're fishing where you can keep fish, so again, you'll want to have a good tape measure that you can count on as well. Beyond that, I like to keep a few bungee straps just to strap my gear to, so that way if I'm pulling the sled, I don't have to worry about equipment falling out. But yeah, I forgot about that I like to bring is just a shovel. This is super helpful, obviously, for shoveling out a space around the hole when you drill it, so you can kind of have a good, clean piece of ice around you, especially if you're going to be setting the tent on top. So sorry I forgot about that, but again, folks, thanks so much for watching. I hope that if you like this video, hope you can give it a thumbs up. Feel free to please subscribe and share this around if you can.